All right, so my Facebook Live has been acting stupid today. So I'm just going to record this and then put it up there and then all that jazz. So this might be in multiple parts, but here goes. So I've got a little tale for you today, this morning, right? And I got the receipt, the literal receipt for it. So let me tell you what happened. I need a drink because I'm walking back to the house. So this morning I get up, right, and I have to go to the bank because I need to do something. So obviously, you know, get up, get it together, hoof it to the bus stop. Now, for those of you that live in Indianapolis and are familiar with the East Side, specifically the Irvington and Irvington adjacent areas, at 10th and Bozart, there is what's it called? The Chase Bank, right? And directly across the street from is a McDonald's. So I get there at the bank. The line's like, it's not like wrapped around the building. How you doing long? But it's, there's like 3 or 4 people ahead of me. And I'm like, I'm feeling a little shaky, a little peckish. I've taken, obviously a little bit too much insulin. I need to eat something, get some food on me to like check this. So I'm like, you know what? There, cross the street, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, we'll get breakfast. Okay, fine, whatever. So, and I apologize if I keep looking down my phone, but I'm trying to make sure that I am constantly recording. So if not, I know where I've left off at and I can like pick up with another video. So I'm in the bank and there's this guy that comes in. Now I noticed that he comes in. He is a African-American gentleman. I would guess he's probably about close to my age. So he's roughly in his early to mid-30s. He's mid-30s, we'll say, because I'm in my mid to late. So, I figure he's about my age, so like 35, 36, 36, somewhere in there. So we kind of make eye contact or whatever. And he gets in line. So he's behind me, standing there. It's taking a minute there. Of course, you know how it is. Bitch, it's one fucking teller. It's a Saturday because nobody want to work Saturday, especially the bank. Even though them hoes go in at 8 and get off at noon, that no one wants to do the 4-hour power shift on Saturday. No fucks are given. They don't care. They they don't want to cash. No one's, first of the month. They don't want nothing, right? So the bank teller is like working with a customer who has a big transaction or what have you. So everyone's standing there patiently. Now, I'm one of those people where I don't do earphones, right? And here's why. Earphones in public is what I mean, in certain settings, and here's why. Because I want to be aware of my surroundings, right? And knowing my fat ass luck, I would go into a bank or some situation with earphones in and would end up dead because I'd be oblivious to some shit that went on. So I'm saying, but I'm on my phone. So I'm paying attention. And I kind of turn sideways a little bit, and the gentleman and I make eye contact again. And I smile because, you acknowledge people when you make eye contact, right? So he's like, hey, I'm not trying to be funny. He's like, but, I'm sure you probably get asked this a lot. Like, how far along are you? So I look inquisitively because obviously, unless I'm serving some type of pregnancy type of tease that I wasn't aware of, at first, I don't get it. Then it kind of registers because there are some guys that and it's not the first time that this has happened. So that's why and it doesn't bother me because I think when something bothers you, it's because you're not secure in who you are, where you are, what's going on with you. Right. So, when it comes to what's about to come up. And it dawned on me that he was asking, how far am I in, some sort of transition? Be it FTM or MTS. So, because, hey, low-key, I got titties. Not gynecomastia situation going on. It's okay. It is what it is, right? Partial fat, partial actual breast tissue. We move forward. So... okay, so we're still going strong. All right, cool. Maybe I have to do a part 2, just long ass video. So I kind of laugh, and he's like, "Oh shit, my bad. Like I didn't mean to offend you." And I said, "No, no." I said, "It's perfectly fine." I said, "It's no offense. I was like, I am I'm a cis male." That was it. Wasn't offended. Kept it popping. Kept it moving. Whatever. He goes, "Oh," he's like, "Well, that's cool." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "So, um, like, can I ask you something?" So, if you ever had a, however you want to put it, a DL brother trade, whatever you want to call it, particularly African American, Latino, or Hispanic ones, usually you get the apes. What's up? Apes. Come here, let me holler at you, apes. Something. So he's literally doing an apes, but not without the whisper sound, right? So he's like, "Well, can I ask you something? Can I ask you something?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Could I holler at you?" And I was like, "Okay." So I'm like, "Well, we can convert. We're standing here." I was like, "So yeah, you can talk to me, because I try not to be rude about it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just conversation. I can have a conversation with you and then walk the fuck away. A bitch has the autonomy and the right to say no. So it doesn't bother me to talk to someone, because people always go, "Well, you just humor people and this, that, and other." I would never. Well, bitch, that's the reason why your ass is still single, right? That's the reason why your ass is still going through these fucked up situations, because sometimes you just don't talk. Now, I get it. You don't always want to be bothered. You don't always want to be pressed. I don't always want to be fucking bothered and be pressed. But every now and then, stop and just take a fucking conversation and see what happens, right? Take a picture with your Kodak and see what fucking develops. But I digress. So we're talking. And he's like, "So, like, you seeing someone, shorty? Like this, that, and other, so on and so forth." He feels comfortable enough to have this conversation. But then again, low key, there's only two people in front of me besides the person that's at the window with the teller, and there's no one else behind him. And we're far, and like he's close enough to me that like we're able to have this conversation in public, but it's still no one's, unless they're ear hustling hardcore, they're not morning. They're not, was that Miss Hat? I think it was Miss Hat. Anyway, they're not, they're not going to really be aware of what we're discussing. So we're having a conversation. He's like, "You seeing somebody, this, that, and other, so on and so forth." And I give my public answers, my public persona answers. And I was like, "Well, I'm in between suitors at the moment." And, that's that. What's your name? This, that, and other, so on and so forth. And he's like, "Well, maybe you and I can kick it sometime." And I was like, "Listen, like, I'm flattered, but at the end of the day, like, like, there's just certain things that I just don't want to go down, certain roads. And if I'm misconstruing, please let me know." And I was like, "But like, I'm really not into dealing with men on a sexual or romantic level that are DL, because it did come up that he's got an on again off again situation with his baby's mama. I don't know if it's on or off currently, because I didn't ask, and it wasn't my business, because I wasn't trying to go down that road. You know what I'm saying? So if I was trying to get the dick, the peen, then yeah, I would have asked that question, but I wasn't. So I end up at the teller, we part ways, whatever. So I go across the street, right? I go in, I'm standing there. For once, there is no one but me and the motherfucking crew. So I got a minute. I can take my time and not be pressed into a breakfast meal situation in which I'm not that happy about, because it's not really what the fuck I wanted, but I wasn't really sure, but I need to hurry up and make an informed, half-assed informed decision, because there's other bitches behind me trying to get fed, right? So I order my food, and the total comes up to $3.60. And the next thing I know, I go to, now, normally I have my card out, right? I'm stopping because I'm in my yard. So normally I have my card out, right? And I'm ready to like swipe and do the do. Well, this morning I was like, "Oh, I'm going to pay cash." So I'm kind of fumbling around a bit. And all of a sudden I see a hand come through and like put the chip in. And the next thing I know, I hear the beep, and I look down and then over, and it is old boy from the bank. So I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Well, I could have paid for my own meal, right?" Like, I'm thinking this, but I'm like, okay, whatever, based upon what the fuck just happened earlier. Just just say thank you, and worst case scenario, have him join you for breakfast pretty much. So I'm like, thanks. Like, I was like, man, I could have got that, but I appreciate it. He's like, oh, no problem. This, that, and other. That's just my way of saying, thanks for like having that conversation with me. And I was like, oh, no problem. I talk to whomever. And I was like, would you like to, when you get your food, are you getting it for here to go? Because I've got a little bit of time before my ride comes. And, didn't tell him I was on the bus this morning, but just my ride. And, I'm going to eat my meal here. And he's like, oh, well, if you don't mind. I'm like, nah. So he gets his shit. My shit gets brought up. We go sit down. And we're starting to eat and talk. And this is why I say sometimes it is imperative for us to not be dismissive and have real conversations with people when they approach us. Even when we don't sometimes feel like it, when we feel like it's going to be bullshit or trivial. Because I felt like I've always, everyone has their own opinion, their own thoughts, right? And feel some type of way about why men are on the down low, right? And there's always this assumption that everyone is an undercover gay, or they're undercover bisexual, or this, that, and other. We try to make, like so many things, linear in this society. We try to make it linear when it's not really as simple as that. One of the things that we have to, and you can get in your fucking feelings if you want to, but it's, that's another thing too. You point some shit out and then people won't get in their feelings, and it's like, listen, like that's a logical argument. It's a logical point. It's something to consider, because sometimes we don't consider it for one reason or another. But at the end of the day, we are highly functioning animals, right? So there's only one race, first of all, which is the human race. The race as we see it is a construct. So red, yellow, black, and white, because really that's just pigmentation difference, right? That's how much melanin you got in your skin or not, for whatever reason. So race is a construct because there's only one race, again, the human race. And then there's species of race, such as male, female, feline, canine, and all of that. And then we have to remember that, like, we're all part of the animal kingdom. Let me say that for you again. We're all part of the animal kingdom. That means us, bitch. The only difference is that instead of us, we're able to be more methodical about how we stalk our prey, right? That's literally what it boils down to. And so I say all that to say this, is that I think we need to have a conversation about DL men, for DL people, period. Because there's plenty of women on the down low too. Don't let it fool you and make it seem like it's just a phenomenon that is among men of color, particularly black men. All types of men do it, that come from all ethnic backgrounds for one reason or another. Plenty of women do it. It's just not talked about. It seems to be more prevalent. And of course, whenever you villainize something, usually we tend to pick the groups of people that we already vilify the most, right? Or we pick the group of people that we feel that it's more prevalent to see that type of whatever situation, behavior, however you want to put it in. And so because of the HIV and other STD epidemics in the black community, and because of how we, the community as a whole, sometimes has these views, very myopic views on homosexuality and just other just sexual orientation in general, particularly homosexual or bisexual or things like that. Someone that is on the down low, is already going to be vilified, and there's an assumption that you are a gay man that can't come to terms with his sexuality, a bisexual man that can't come to terms with his sexuality, this and that, and so on and so forth. And so what I want to open the discussion in general about what we as a society think down low men are and look like versus the realities of what they are. Because like a lot of things, none of us are fucking monolithic. You're going to hear me say this 1,001 times on this platform, and eventually when I start writing in-depth articles and putting them on the website, that's being built as we speak. I'm gonna see some preview tonight, so I'm excited. But anyway, I digress. We have to understand that, like, people who are on the DL are not monolithic, and so there's a myriad of reasons. And so bringing it back, so come to find out that this young gentleman, from what I gather, and of course, Like my mama used to say, hey, his mouth is cut across just like yours. That means he has the ability to lie. But I feel like based upon his approach, his boldness, and the fact that he really was respectful whenever I would like put the brakes on certain parts of the conversation, um, I believe him. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, and I believe him. And we started to have this conversation, and come to find out that for him, there are a lot of elements that are missing. There's a lot of things that he wants physically and emotionally that a lot of his female partners in the past have not been able to give him, and that he's been able to find in trans men, in trans women, and in gay and bisexual men, that he has not been able to find in his female partners. And I found that very fascinating the more and more we talked. And we exchanged kick information, because I was like, bro, look, he was like, let me get your number, because you're fly, I like to talk to you, this, that, and other. Like, like as much as I was trying to creep on you and get something kicking, at the end of the day, like I really dig and respect you. And I was like, listen, you got kick, we can start there and work our way up to phone numbers and whatnot as we get to know one another. So we did that. And so, like I thought that was very interesting, because that was something that I thought about but didn't think about. And I think when I answered Don's question about how many straight men are out there, secretly kicking it, trying to kick it with gay boys and this, that, and the other, one of the things that I brought up was the fact that it isn't that sometimes it isn't about these men necessarily being quote unquote gay or quote unquote bisexual. It's about the fact they're very much heterosexual. It's about the fact that it's about a physical act or a need that is not being met by their female counterparts, or by the relationships they tend to have with females for one reason or another. Be it if it's something sexual that they like to do that most females are like, no. Be it if it's like there's a certain type of level of intimacy that they're able to reach with a man that they can't with a woman for one reason or another. But yeah, it shows to go to the complexities of it. So, bitch, I got a free meal, right? I got a few things. One, there's a few points to take away from this. Besides all the ones I just stated. One, I got a free meal, which I thought was cute. It wasn't the typical pay it forward, but, I'm paying it forward by putting this, opening up this discussion, right? That's how I'm going to pay it forward. So that's that. So one, I got a free meal. Two, I got to see just disrespectful as fuck. Don't y'all see I'm recording out here? But I got to see something from the standpoint of someone that it directly affects. I got to see what it means or what it looks like to be someone who is on the down low, or DL man, in a different context and a different point of view. I was able to see it in a way that I hadn't really necessarily kind of thought of before. I should really get my face snatched before I get, but you know what? Y'all are just gonna have to deal with roughness till I can get it together, because I will soon, because I got a speaking gig next month, which I'll talk more about later. But anyway, so I'm gonna be making some posts throughout today and tomorrow, and probably the next couple of days or so. Video, written, I don't know yet, but to bring up some different aspects, and I want us to have a real conversation. So I think the next time you see me, or you see me post something about this, it'll be more from like what do we traditionally, think of when we hear the term down low? What do we think of when we see a man that classifies themselves as DL? Do we view these men as monolithic? Do we instantly always go to that they have to be gay or they have to be bisexual and they're just hiding their sexuality because they're ashamed of it, they're repressed, this, that, and the other? Are they trying to have their cake and eat it too? Like, how monolithic do we make these men out to be? And are these men necessarily villains? Because again, if the men themselves that fit this category aren't monolithic, that means the reasons for why they fit this category are not monolithic, right? So with that being said, like, what does all this say? So with that say, I'm at almost 20 minutes. A bitch is parched. I still got some lemonade in this motherfucker. Shout out to the chicks over at the McDonald's on 10th and Beaux-Arts, because y'all did the Thug Thizzle. Shout out to Guadalupe, who made my sandwich. And I'm not being racist. I know her name is Guadalupe because they shouted back there. It was like, Guadalupe, I need a sausage biscuit, add cheese. So, and I was the only motherfucker in there that was getting a sausage biscuit, add cheese. So, at the time. So, shout out to Guadalupe because she got the patty that was like super hot off the griddle. The cheese melted beautifully. I had a biscuit that didn't crumble. It was buttery and flaky, even though that's just a poppin' fresh, Pillsbury biscuit they throw in the oven. Ain't like they making their shit from scratch like Hardee's. Okay. I mean, low-key, we know. But, the Pillsbury was like fire. My hash brown was crisp, but it wasn't, overly greasy. Like, it was a beautiful breakfast. It was a beautiful breakfast. So shout out to Guadalupe and the rest of the boys and girls in the back and the front counter crew that was just as beautiful and buttery. So until next time, kids, I will holler at y'all later. Bye.